Okay. Let's see. All right, and can you all see my screen all right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So welcome to meeting 2. This is Filecoin Core Devs number 40. Today is Thursday, April 7th, 2022. Today we're going to go through standard updates, quick update items from all of the implementation teams as well as the foundation, as well as a reminder of sort of the current status of the V16 network upgrade that we're working towards. But there were no open discussion points on the agenda and none additionally were brought up at this morning's meeting. So happy to discuss anything that the two of you would like. But otherwise, again, I think a quick meeting this week as everyone's pretty heads down working on the FVM. So updates from the Forest team, most of their work has been collaborating with the Lotus team to prepare all of the refactors and to be ready for the FVM launch that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. They've also really greatly improved their documentation. So they now have a new wiki, which includes all of their process materials, as well as their formal technical development notices and links to all of their ZenHub accounts, if anyone is tracking the development work that they have in coordination with others. The Fuhan team is currently waiting on a paused audit status, which we'll talk about in just a second, but they are synced through V15 and the audit is the only thing preventing their sync to mainnet. So that's really exciting for them. They're also looking to join everyone on the V16 upgrade as well, so that should be exciting. And aside from other bug fixes and some additional calls that they're adding into Fuhan currently, they're also going to be presenting next week a node state compaction program that they're interested in piloting. And they'll talk a little bit more about the research objectives and sort of the technical specifics of that proposal as well. Updates from the Lotus team, I did not provide them in advance, but they were relatively scant. They have been really heads down just working on FVM, and that includes that collaboration with the Forest team to get everything ready to go for the upcoming mainnet sync in early May. And for the Venus team, Stephen, I'll let you tell us a little bit more about what you all have been working on.
Okay, yeah. And the Venus team is now working on a few things. One thing is about to integrate the FVM into the Venus, and we had released one optional version for community to test, which is the RC131 RC1. We have 2 loads around this. This release, which is working very well. And another big thing is that the Venus team had launched venushub.io, which is a hub for resources for events, for programs to have community to join, or developers to join us to together developing Venus. And this one is under the help of the Filecoin Foundation to do this, which is very well. And currently what I'm going on the Venus team is also working on the Venus market, which is providing support for multiple nodes to store real data, and currently working with real data service provider, FileDrive, to integrate the 2 parts and to provide more user-friendly experience for FileDrive's users. And also we are working on the try to find something actually for the FVM early builder, and because the team have a few people are working on the FVM studying, and we're looking for if we could say the Go program could be actually as a contract to compile it into the WASM and to do something. This is just study. Just a start. Okay, and I think, that's all. Any question?
No questions, but I do have 2 updates that you might be curious about. One is that we had discussed the Venus's collaboration with the Bloxico team, and I've sent the contract materials to the Foundation's legal department to review. So I'll get back to you offline about that. The other thing is that Dragon mentioned this morning that in future core devs calls, he is going to provide updates about the status of the FVM Early Builders and Foundry program. So if you're interested in sort of communicating more directly about that, know that information will be shared very formally in all core devs calls going forward, so that everyone can stay abreast of what's happening and how people are being onboarded as new builders in the FVM ecosystem. But Dragon would also be a good point person for you if you're interested, again, in coordinating more closely for Venus.
Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you very much about that. Yeah.
Congrats on releasing Venus Hub.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Alex, do you have any questions for Stephen, or that you want me to relay to any of the other implementation teams?
No, I don't. Thanks. That all sounds good. Like the rest of the Lotus team, I've been heads down on FVM recently.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. So then no surprising updates from the Filecoin Foundation on the governance side. FIP 27th is in last call, so we expect it to be accepted tomorrow. FIP 30, 31, and 32 are FVM FIPs we're watching very closely, and I'm talking with Ayush on an ongoing basis so that we can get everything moving exactly when it's able to be moved. So waiting for gas parameters, and may even have them as soon as the end of this week. At least that was the update current as of this morning. So best guess is that we'll be able to move into last call for those three sometime early next week. But again, this is still tentative, so we will see and just try and stay on top of it as we move. One thing that has arisen is that Dudley is no longer with the foundation, so he is no longer coordinating security updates, audits, or bug needs. I think, Alex, you may already have been looped in, and I think Jennifer mentioned that you're going to be helping with some FVM audit requirements. But we have interim point people at both the foundation. So Parth Shah has joined us recently, and he's going to be helping to cover for some of Dudley's work, working alongside Jennifer. And then there are a few others in Protocol Labs also who will also be helping to cover that work until someone is hired to take it over full time again. So we're hoping there's no slowdown, but this is a sort of a late breaking development. So there will be more information in the coming weeks and coming days about ongoing audits so that everyone can prepare accordingly.
I have a question while we're looking at this slide about the FIPS. I wonder what do we need to do to get FIP 29, the beneficiary address, into last call? Is it still awaiting a final round of technical review? I believe the implementation, or the prototype implementation in Go, I think is complete. So I think it's ready for a final review period.
Sure. I think, Stephen, recently there was some updated conversation about the complexity of either the approach or the implementation itself. Do you have an update in some of the thinking you have around this FIP, since it's yours?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks, Alex. Yeah, okay, actually, this is the question I want to ask. Yeah, okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, I think everything is done. Yeah, this one have been discussed yeah, for some time, and Alex contributed many ideas for this, and we already have a Golang implementation for this, and we can move this to last call. From my point of view, and next we will which will be in Venus or Lotus or other implementations after network version 16. I hope. We will at that time we will have it implemented in Rust. But for the FIP itself, it's done, I think.
Great. So I'm actually offsite at a conference all this week, but I will take a look. And if we can move it into last call, perhaps on Monday, then we should. And so we can go from there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. All right. And with that, we had a few quick updates from Ayush. Well, first we have current standard bearer on network v16. These are, the FIPs are pretty confirmed. We don't expect to change these, obviously. However, the timeline is still a little tentative because of the status of the audit and some of the interim plans that have been put in place. So Jennifer will be coordinating some of the staffing needs early next week and providing any update. But as always, the mainnet upgrade and the CalibNet sync may be pushed out by a few days. However, it will of course not be brought back. So for teams working on planning, know you may be given some extra time, and that will be confirmed with you and communicated as quickly as it's devised. So again, Jennifer will be the point person to provide those updates in the next couple of days. And those quick updates on some of the FIPs that Ayush gave us, as mentioned before, FIP 30 and 31 are in final review. FIP 32 is very close to having those final gas parameters. We're just waiting for testing to be completed. And again, as soon as these are ready to go, we will move them to last call so that there's no delay or hesitation for the V16 upgrade when it comes to the governance process. And that is all that we had for today. Anything you guys would like to bring up?
No, I'm okay with this. Thanks.
Thank you. I thank you, Caitlin, for posting about the clarifying the roles of core devs and FIP editors. The stuff you wrote up sounded really good. I sort of didn't have anything worthy of writing a response. It sort of, it looked good to me. Obviously, it needs some more time to bake. One observation that I had is that it seems to be, this is not a judgment, just observation, so that we're so clear. It seems to be going for a democratic style of community governance, in the sense that there are not some community members who have more authority or more power than others. It doesn't explicitly state this, but it also doesn't. It also doesn't anoint any particular parties as having more influence. And so in a sense, it's just my observation that this is, this kind of governance thing, everything is easy when things are going well. It's really about when there are conflicts, how are they going to be resolved? And so this is deciding for us how such conflicts are going to evolve. If, for example, a large community group arises in the future who have different ideas to the people, the old guard, as it were, then there is not going to be much. There's no governance inertia to maintain the influence of the people who have been involved in the past. So, like I said, it's not bad or good. It's very situational and, of course, very subjective as to whether that's bad or good, depending on whether, for example, if progress stagnates, and then it's good that a new guard come up and take it over, and that there are not many barriers to do so. But on the other hand, if a large new community group emerges challenging the existing one, then it could instead cause the old guard to leave, and then the project stagnates for the opposite reason. So it's just interesting to me that this is like I say, it's extremely subjective as to whether one outcome or the other is preferred. But by clarifying these kind of things, we're setting the context under which conflict in the future will be determined.
Yeah. Thanks for reading the FIP editors and core devs role definition piece. I'll let it sit for a few weeks, and if there's no other comments or you have no new thoughts about it, then we can move it to simplified, more formal guidance. The resiliency component and the balance between making sure we have resilient and attack-proof sectors within this governance framework, but that it also maintains the legitimacy of decisions without having a codified group of approvers, et cetera. It's a really tough balance. It's actually one of the conversations that we've been discussing while I've been at this offsite with the foundation over the last couple of days. And it's one that is one of the $1 million questions, how do we create this balance? I think one practical step forward, and something we've all sort of been thinking about a little bit, is really just what happens if we get another contentious FIP. So we had one in the fall when there had been some changing regulation, people, storage providers wanted to relocate. How do we handle their collateral that's already locked up? We want to make sure that if things like this come up again, that the voices of people who've been here longer, who have a lot of deep expertise in the protocol, are able to have those voices heard, and they are able to provide sort of a balancing agency over what is being discussed, versus, the interests of community members who may have different vantage points. Happy to like talk to you one-on-one about this too, if you have like ideas for processes, etc. But again, it's one of those things that we continue to think on and work on over time. And it is on the agenda for like clarification and thinking. I'm already working on a project actually with the Crypto Econ Lab about helping clarify and making more resilient crypto econ FIPS, because they can be relatively sensitive and relatively technical. But from the vantage point of the entire FIPS process, yeah, it's tricky. It's good you noted it. I don't have much more to say about it for now, though. Yeah, we have to keep
thanks. I don't have any significantly better ideas, but
yeah,
it's worth us being aware of how the system is set up so that we can work most effectively.
Yeah. And in the meantime, we can keep grabbing, not for the lower hanging fruit, but the fruit that should have been picked long ago, right? So those documentation needs and the standards that we all kind of know because we're involved in this, but which someone who's new and may also be really deeply skilled and a very experienced developer, right? They may not, because they're not already familiar with the Filecoin ecosystem. So you can continue to write this up so that it's clear, make it easier to find, update docs, update FIP1, etc. But yeah, think about these macro structures a bit more. Which
fantastic. Thank you.
is, yeah. All right. There's nothing else, then I think this brings us to the end of our meeting. All right. Well, then, thank you both for joining. I'm going to encourage at the next Core Devs call in 2 weeks, those who are in meeting 1 to also join meeting 2 if they can, just so that there's more voices in the room. If you want to have a technical discussion, you're going to need other implementers or other core devs. So it's important that they do join if they can. So we'll see if we can get a better balance in future meetings also. But again, thanks for your contributions, and check out the meeting notes if you want to catch anything that may have been overlooked in this call. But again, this morning was relatively brief as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate the
Yeah,
meeting
thank
notes. They're great.
Yeah, great. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks. Okay.